All right, what's going on? You listen to King Cam Ujumbe podcast, Ujumbe meets message. And yeah, have you heard of the tale of the two ladies? Yeah, we're about to get into it. Have you heard of the tale of the two ladies? Now, we're going to talk about that. The two ladies of Egypt, Nekhbet and Wadjet, the guardians of the Pharaoh and the land. Yeah. For over 3 millennia, the civilization of ancient Kemet was guided by divine forces believed to govern every aspect of life, from the fertility aspect to the Nile to the legitimacy of kingship. Now, among the most revered and enduring of these is the divine protectors were called. Their names were Nekhbet and Wadjet, known exactly as the two ladies. Now, more than just symbols of Upper and Lower Egypt, these powerful goddesses embodied the dual nature of divine authority. Nekhbet, the maternal vulture, Neteru, brought protection and wisdom and legitimacy from the south. The and Wadjet, the fierce cobra Neteru, delivered justice and divine retribution from the north. So we have the north and south merging together under the authority of the king of Egypt. Now, together, they stood as sacred guardians of the Nesut-Bity, or the Pharaoh, representing unity and power and divine right. Their images adorned crowns, temples, and tombs, and their names were invoked in royal titles to signify the king's divine sanction to rule both lands, the north and south. But their influence reached far beyond politics, rooted in ancient religious traditions. The story of the two ladies reveal deep truths about Egyptian spirituality, symbolism, and the cosmic balance of power. Now, in this discussion, we'll uncover the origins of the myths and enduring impact of Nekhbet and Wadjet, two goddesses whose legacy continues to captivate and inspire for years and thousands of years later, right? Ancient Egyptian mythology is filled with powerful Neteru who shaped the religious and political and cultural landscape of the civilization. Among those were the two ladies, all right? So now, today, we're going to talk about the origins and mythological significance, the two ladies and the pharaoh, the sacred symbols, temples, and lasting significance. So the origins and mythological significance, the individual backgrounds of Nekhbet and Wadjet, we're going to talk about that. Their early religious roles and how they became the patron deities of Upper and Lower Kemet. The two ladies of the pharaoh, we're going to talk about their direct influence on kingship, their presence in royal coronations, even warfare, and the spiritual protection they offered to rulers. Now, sacred symbols, temples, and lasting influence. We're going to analyze some iconography, cult centers, of the role in religious practices, and some symbolism. Right now, the origins and mythological significance. Nekhbet, Nekhbet was the vulture goddess, was the divine protector of Upper Egypt, particularly associated with the deity of Nekheb, that is modern El Kab. That's one of the oldest Neteru of in Egyptian history. We're gonna show some more images of that a little bit later. Stay tuned. She was initially worshipped by local communities before becoming a national symbol of royal power. Get this. Oh, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, by the way. But now there's about 42 gnomes in Kemet. Each had their own Neteru, their own um, spiritual location, right? And so, and what kept them together, what kept them intact, was the priesthood. We talked about the priesthood before, but the major priesthood, like in Mennefer or Waset, or and what was the other place? Further up north. You guys can just remind me. There's three. There's three major locations. Uh, there's one in Thebes, and then there's one in Memphis. I forgot the other place. But all right, so the priesthood would keep that in check. They'll keep that in check. So now, Nekhbet was regarded as the mother goddess. She was embodying the nurturing, the fierce protective aspects of motherhood. Um, the vultures was associated with purification and life after death, reinforcing her connection to both the living king and the king in the ancestral world. Now, Nekhbet is depicted as a vulture. Get this, as a vulture with outstretched wings, often hovering protectively over the pharaoh, or clutching the shin ring, the symbol of eternity. As you notice, you see the shin ring in her talons right there. That we talked about, the shin representing eternity, and also the name of the pharaoh will be put into that, and they will call that the cart. Some people will call it the cartouche, but it's actually the shin. Okay, the name of the pharaoh will be placed in that circle, in that space. Okay, so, but now the thing is, I've always thought that only the Ba was associated with the afterlife. That is the Ba, which is the soul of the individual, and also that Nephthys, okay, was also connected to guiding the ancestors to the halls of Ma'at, or to the great one. See, so it's always thought that the Ba and Nekhbet, but now we know that, I mean, Ba and Nephthys, but now we find out that Nekhbet is also a participant in the ancestral world. Now, in later religious texts, Nekhbet was seen as a divine nurse of Heru, a horse, further cementing her role in protecting the rightful ruler of Egypt. So it wasn't just for female rulers of Kemet. It wasn't just for the ladies. The fellas needed that protection also. And so that's what we have to understand, that it wasn't a slight for a king to also have Nekhbet at behind him or above him, that kind of thing. It wasn't, because women are just as important as men. So there was always that balance. You will always see that togetherness, right? So now, the vulture crown associated with Nekhbet was one of the most important symbols, queenship of ancient Egypt. Nekhbet, the vulture goddess of Upper Egypt, was seen as the divine protector of the pharaoh and the nation. It was the divine protector of the pharaoh and the nation. The vulture itself was a sacred bird, symbolizing maternal care and watchful protection, and queens who wore the vulture crown were believed to embody these qualities. Like I said before, everybody couldn't put that on. All right. So now, the crown itself consisted of a vulture figure with outspread wings, often depicted hovering over the queen's head. This symbol reinforced the idea that the queen was divinely sanctioned to act as the guardian of Egypt. Just like Nekhbet was the guardian of the pharaoh or the ruler, the queen and also the king was the guardian of Egypt. If you are enjoying the content, subscribe so you don't miss anything, because it's about to get interesting. All right. Now, Wadjet is the serpent Neteru. The serpent Neteru was the divine protector of Lower Egypt, centered in the ancient city of Per-Wadjet. The ancient city of Per-Wadjet. Her identity was closely tied to the Nile Delta's fertile lands and its abundance of life. Right? Now, Wadjet is also spelled Wadjet, okay? Uadjet, translates to the green one, and refers to a cobra goddess and the patron deity of Lower Egypt and protector of kings, often depicted as a cobra twined around a papyrus stem. Now, she is also, let me see if this on this one. All right, Wadjet was also depicted as a cobra, and get this, it was always depicted as ready to strike at the enemy of the king. Okay, we'll get into that. Now, she was also known as the Eye of Ra, sent by the sun god to punish wrongdoers. Here we go, to punish wrongdoers. So we see some difference between the two ladies already, and the rebels making her symbol of divine retribution. Unlike the nurturing role of Nekhbet, who is nice and kind and all that kind of thing. Even though I don't see a vulture being nice and kind, I don't think. But that's what they're saying. But Wadjet was a fierce warrior deity who spit fire at the enemies. He wasn't just biting. Okay, she was spitting fire. Okay, and protected the king with her deadly strike. She was also linked to wisdom and foresight because it is connected close to the brain, right? Particularly through symbolism of the cobra's ability to sense danger before it arrives, and that's reality dealing with snakes. Okay, they have some kind of sense. They know things is happening. They know the wind is shifting and things like that. So, but get this though, story has it that in the early pre-dynastic era, when they was developing the creation story and all these things, story has it that she left the primordial mound to watch over Atun or Ra's children. And when she got back, okay, because she was originally the Eye of Ra, right? When she got back, there was an eye that was in its place, and she wasn't having all that. She was mad and everything. But to make it right, the king said, okay, you're going to represent the protector. You're now going to represent the snake, or you're going to embody the snake. Okay, so she was ultimately replaced. The Ira was the Ira, but now she can go and protect every king and every ruler from then on. Right now, the unification of the two ladies. Now, with the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, because we have to understand that for centuries before the Old Kingdom, before the first Pharaoh of United Nation of Egypt, they were separated. There was different kings, there were different kingdoms, there were different rulers. We may just talk about that. Like and comment if you want to talk about the kings before the pharaohs. All right, we got something about that. With the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt under King Narmer, okay, 3100 before Common Era, Nekhbet and Wadjet were merged into a single divine concept. The two ladies, the Nesut-Bity, okay, the Nepatawi, their combined presence in the royal titulary symbolized the unity and balance of the Egyptian state. Okay, now there's two reasons for the unification of the two ladies. One is political unification, and two, spiritual duality. All right, one, political unification, two, spiritual duality. Right. So political unification, two ladies represented the harmonization of northern and southern traditions, securing the pharaoh's rule over both regions. We have to understand that these customs and cultures were going on before the pyramids, going on before all of this. And we're going to show some illustrations about that in a few seconds. But Egypt, the Kemetic culture was an African culture. So a lot of these symbols, a lot of these stories was passed down centuries before the first pyramids were made in Africa, right? So political unification and spiritual duality, they embodied the balance between wisdom and aggression. Okay, it was a balance between wisdom and aggression, protection and retribution, ensuring that Egypt remains stable and prosperous. Today, believe it or not, we have to be that. Okay, we have to be wise and aggressive. Okay, we got to be wise and be ready. That's what it is. Okay, we can't just our heads can't be in the clouds always. We can't be Hotep always. We gotta pop out every now and then. Okay, that's the reason why we see those symbolisms of the head of a man, body of a lion, kind of thing. It's like, I'm very intelligent, but you'll get this work. I'm very smart, but don't cross me, right? So that spiritual duality is in play, right? Now, we're going to get, for example, we have Queen Sobek-Neferu's name, and we are dealing with the queens of the South, and Queen Sobek-Neferu is our main character that we're discussing, right? The Nepatawi or Nesut-Bity name, her name was Set-Sekem Nepatawi. Okay, Set-Sekem Nepatawi. That means the daughter of the powerful one, mistress of the two lands. That is the very first line. Okay, right here. Well, second line. I'm sorry, the second line. Nekhbet, daughter of the powerful one, mistress of the two lands, meaning that the protection of Nekhbet and Wadjet would have been bestowed upon her at the time of her coronation. Okay, we'll break that down in a few minutes. But thing is, they did have coronation. So, and in order for you to be coronated, in order for you to be crowned, you had to go through that process. We talked about the process before, but that was part of it. All these names meant something. Some were given at birth, but some was given later, right? Now, and here's another example. Here it is. Funerary mask of King Tut features both a cobra and a vulture, symbolizing the Wadjet and Nekhbet. This duality is the visual equivalent of the two Urae, Urae, and reaffirms his sovereignty over both parts of Egypt. But now, it's not just their service, y'all. We have to understand that these kings had to be rulers of both the physical plane and the spiritual plane also. All right. Yeah. They had to be masters of both. All right. So I would like to believe that every king that donned this were duly and truly prepared to wear it and represent it. Okay. Check this out. The Sphinx of King Taharka of the 25th dynasty. He has the dual Wadjets there. But the thing is, what does that mean though? He doesn't have. Notice he does not have the vulture. He does not have Nekhbet on his head. He has two Wadjets on his head. What does that mean? What does that mean? All right, two Wadjets. Now, when two Wadjets or Urae are depicted on the crown of royalty, it symbolizes a couple of things. Unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, of course, enhanced divine protection, and a political statement. It was a flex, right? So whenever you see the two Wadjets or two cobra on an individual's head, it shows unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, enhanced divine protection, and political statement. But let's break it down. The unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, the single Uraeus traditionally represents Wadjet of Lower Egypt. In addition of a second Uraeus, often associated with Nekhbet, the vulture goddess, the natural root of Upper Egypt, it emphasizes the unity of the two lands. So when you see them two together, it shows again, even though it's not the vulture, it's a cobra, it shows that there's some unification there. Instead of showing a cobra and a vulture separately, which is also common, the two cobras may both stand for this dual sovereignty and divine endorsement, right? So one of the reasons they have two Wadjets is unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, enhanced divine protection. They need all the help they can get. they need all of it, right? Two Urae implies double protection, often interpreted as the king or queen being protected not just by the Wadjet of Lower Egypt, but by two divine forces, possibly the Wadjet and a synchronized form of Nekhbet or the ancestors. Okay, because we have to understand these people were African, so they always would give a nod to the great ancestors. All right, it's always going to be done. Okay. Alternatively, the two Urae could represent the king's protection over both Egypt and foreign land. Okay. They got like Tutmosis III and Ramses II. They went out there and went to battle. And so they needed that protection. Okay. They needed that extra push, right? Such as Nubia or divine cosmic realm. So they needed those things. So we have unification, enhanced divine protection, political statement. You know it's a flex. He said, I have the authority. Okay. It shows that they had the authority over two significant territories. Okay. Or it's making a statement of dominance or expanded divine support. It said, since y'all know about this, I got it on. Okay. This symbolism can also be used to legitimize a reign, especially for rulers with tenuous and claims to power. Okay. What do you think? Like, comment below. What do you think? You think, in my opinion, I think it's all three. But if you had to choose one, political statement, enhanced divine protection, or unification, what do you think it would be? What do you think they'll have them two for? All right. Like and comment below. Let's get it. Yeah, historical examples. There's some historical examples, all right? There's some real life examples. During the reign of Akhenaten, particularly with Nefertiti, there were representations, even though it was rare. It suggested an elevation of queenship with crowns showing to Ure. This was a part of a broader religious shift where the royal family, not just the king, was divinized. So, yeah, and we're starting to see some other issues with this man and this woman. You understand? So, now, the thing is, we can understand and respect the fact that Akhenaten was born into this thing, but she was not born into this thing. All right, so I think she kind of overstepped her boundaries. What do y'all think? Because the Wadjet looked like it was being removed from her. I'm saying because it's different. This man born into this dynasty, born royal, and this woman here, this random. Yeah. And like I said, if the Wadjet was on her head, it was removed. Something's happening. What's going on with that? Right? Y'all let me know because it looked like they just straight just yanked it, they just took it. Now that let me go and get that from you. Now let me go and get that. So, all right. So we also have Queen Nefertari, the great royal wife of Ramses II. Nefertari is sometimes depicted with the two Ure or two Wadjet. This elevated her above standard queenly rank. Her imagery aligns more with divine queenship, signaling her unique status and possibly indicating a divine or semi-divine nature. Now, we talked about her in my top 5 queens of Egypt, excluding Cleopatra. I'm saying, it is what it is, bro. Cleopatra wasn't her, okay? But we did talk about Nefertari in my top 5. All right, check it out a little bit later. All right. Now, speaking of which, Cleopatra, in some representations, as you can see here, Cleopatra the Seventh wears the double Wadjet, emphasizing her identity as ruler of both Upper and Lower Egypt. Now, this can also be read as part of her strategy in assimilating the Egyptian religious imagery with Rome to legitimize her rule as a foreign queen. I told you, she wasn't her. Okay, she was foreign. Okay, and also I mentioned before, Cleopatra was an opportunist. I'm just saying. So she tried to throw in as much cultural significance as possible to legitimize her station and her seat as Queen of Egypt. But it wasn't working for most of the original people that lived there. Like, you're not from here, and you're not that person. Yeah, you may have the symbolisms, you may have the imagery, you may have your name in the shim, but you're not the Nesut-Bity, you're not the Nepatawi, right? That's what it is. And of course, the Queen Mother, Queen Tai, she, Queen Tai, she has the triple, you're right, triple Wadjet, but Queen Tai is very significant, very influential, and she knew what it was. She very diplomatic, and she understood symbolism. She understood the priesthood. She also understood policy. She understood the politics of the royal court. So yes, she's gonna put it on, right? Now, the two ladies and the Pharaoh. Now, don't forget to subscribe. But yeah, the two ladies and the Pharaoh, the Nesut-Bity, right? But before we get into that, got a question. Now, since we're kind of done with both or leaving one and approaching another, which one do you like? Which one would you choose? Summer or the winter? Okay, one or the other. Okay, like and comment below. Okay, which one? If you had a choice, would it be the summertime or the wintertime? Okay, and I didn't get I did not get specific. I didn't get into detail. I didn't say Texas summer. Okay, or New York winner. I didn't say that. I just said summer winner. All right. Like, comment below. Let's go. Now, here's the question though. Library Without Borders asked this question. Shout out to the fam. Is there a cultural connection between the Congo and Kemet or the Nile Valley? Yeah, we're about to get into that one. Yeah, we're about to get into that one. All right, shout out to Brother Ferguson. He says winner. Yeah, I like winner too. I'm not gonna lie to you. The winter is different, and my allergies are not bothering me that much, right? Yeah. So, yeah, the question is there a cultural connection between Congo and Kemet or the Nile Valley overall? Yeah, that was an honest question. We're gonna have to roll into that one day. We have to talk about that. We're gonna talk about that now, because I can't unsee it. Once you see the picture, when you see Osiris like this, and you see this brother from South Central Africa, not the southern part of Africa. I think I know it's in the Bakongo area, Uganda, somewhere around there, but there's a connection there. We got to get into that. And special birthday shout out to Prince Joshua. Okay, he is an old man now. Well, he will be in a few days. He will be 17. Shout out to Prince Joshua. He's about to be an old man and everything, and I'm very proud of him. If you have a birthday in April, go ahead and put that day and that month in the comments and all the things. I didn't say the year. I didn't say that. And the funny part is, he one time he said, "Daddy, you was born in the 1900s." I almost said, "Hold on, bro." Now my great grandmother was born in 1900s. Hold on now, making it sound like we was riding around in horses and carriages and buggies and everything. No, don't do that. I almost forgot. I almost slid him. Whew. But yeah, happy birthday, Joshua. Very intelligent, very wise young man. I'm proud of you, and I love you, and many more to come. All right, let's go. Now, the two ladies in the Pharaoh, the Nesut-Bity. Now, one of the most significant aspects of their influence was the Nesut-Bity name, the name itself, right? One of the 5 official titles of the Pharaoh. This name emphasized the king's divine legitimacy, symbolizing his unquestioned right to rule both lands. I'm still debating that, because were they really the king of two lands? Because when you get further south past the Aswan area, then people from Kush and Nubia said, no, bro. You may be king up there, but not down here. Yeah. Two lands. When you think of king of two lands, I always thought the king of two lands was he was the king of Sudan and Egypt. That wasn't the case. We're going to talk about the Nile River War in a second, in about another month or so. But yeah, yeah. The name emphasized the king's divine legitimacy, symbolizing his unquestioned right to rule both lands. Okay. Now, here's some examples. We got some examples, y'all. We're going to break this down. We got some examples of the Nesut-Bity names. Okay. Now, we're going to break this down. All right. This is, of course, our main character, once again, Queen Sobek-Neferu. Her first name, her Horus name, at the very top, is Merit Ra. Okay, beloved of Ra. But now, as we go on, I'm starting to notice this imagery here a lot. Okay, you guys are very intelligent. You guys seen this before, but as we go further back into the Old Kingdom, before that, we will see this imagery, the Heru and these building gates, the palace gates right there. There's something about that. Okay, now the Nesut-Bity name, Set Sekem Nebatawi, we talked about that earlier. The third line, the golden Heru name, okay, her eternal name, it's called Jet Kau, established crowns. Of the crowns basically means that I was born into this. Okay, I was born into royalty. We talked about her parentage in the last episode. Check it out. The throne name, Sobek Ka-Ra. Sobek is the soul of Ra. The birth name, Neferu Sobek. This is the name that her mother gave her. Okay, we found out who her mother was too, y'all. Neferu Sebek Ra. Okay, the beauty of Sebek and Ra. Okay. Now, how about this one though? Queen Hatshepsut. Okay, Queen Hatshepsut. So we did Sebek Neferu. Queen Hatshepsut. Her throne name. Okay, her throne name. This is on the left right here, and it's, as you can see, it is in the shim, right? Is that basically that's eternal, right? Her throne name is Ma'at Kara, the true one, or the justice of the Ka, or soul of Ra, or God. So the true one, the justice, balance of the spirit of God. Okay, so she's basically embodying that. Okay, her birth name, the birth name that her mother gave her. Okay, it is Kenemet Amun Hatshepsut. Okay, Kenemet Amun Hatshepsut. United, this is on the right side, united with Amun, foremost of noble ladies. Now, remember, whenever you see this little bowl shape here and those three lines, that basically means that she is the ruler over everybody. Okay. Now, when we broke down the priesthood, one of the priests had the bowl, but one line that basically indicates that you're only over the priest, bro. You're not over us, right? So you see that bowl with three lines. You see the line there, which is another representation of Amun, and so you see that. So when she was born into this, she was born as a representation of that. And also, we also discussed that she really looked up to Sebek Neferu and her family. Get this though, this was 350 years apart, and Queen Hatshepsut revered Sebek Neferu. Okay, she really, even in death, she tried to align herself with her ideals. All right. Now, and speaking of that, we're going to talk about the majestic gateway, Hatshepsut's temple, the majestic gateway up to the gods and the afterlife. We're going to get into that. We're going to break down the magnificent Jesser. We are going to break this temple down. Okay, stay tuned for that. We're going to break that down. We're going to have a discussion about that, and because it's a lot to unpack. Okay, now the funny part is, this is her mortuary temple, and this is located not far from some of the original pharaohs where they was laid to rest also. But notice the temple of Amentuhotep, or Tutmosis the third, is right next to her. That's crazy. He tried so hard to disassociate himself from her, but towards the end, he built structures right next to hers. I think there was kind of some friction. I think there was some love-hate relationship or whatever between him and his stepmother, because that was his stepmother. And I learned that she did not have she didn't have any children. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna break this down here, and we're gonna talk about some of the pyramid texts some more, and the Book of Gates some more, because all these things were some sort of representation of what they were reading and seeing. All right. Now, so like I said, I didn't think she had children of her own. Let me know if she did though. If she had children of her own, comment below. I don't think she did. I don't think she had any children. And that's pretty interesting. One thing about it, when you are in these dynasties, we have to understand that dynasties aren't just people who were in direct lineage or in the direct bloodline, but they had the same view, the same ideals, the same perspective as their predecessors. So that can be a dynasty also. Okay, Tutmosis the third. I had to go and get him. Now, his Horus name, Horus name is the oldest form of a pharaoh. The falcon representing Horus is perched on the palace facade. So this the Horus name, you will see that quite a few times before they even get into their name. And you will see the Horus name. It's like a flag. Like if a royal person went from town to town, all of a sudden you'll see signs that somebody important is there. The entourage is larger or whatever, but there are some signs, and this was their sign here. Horus right there, and then the palace facade. It says Ka Nakat Ka Im Waset. Okay, Ka Nakat Kaha im Waset. Okay, the strong bull arising in Thebes. Waset, Thebes. That's why you hear me interchange the word Thebes to Waset. Strong bull that basically represents masculinity, strength, and power. Okay, his Nebatawi Nesut-Bity name was Wa Insiut Mi Ra Im Pet. Basically, in other words, enduring of kingship like Ra in heaven. He said, say all this to say this here. All right, the enduring kingship like God, like God in heaven, that kind of thing. But of course, you know, all men must go, right? But yeah, so so that's the throne name and the Nesut-Bity name, right? Now here it is, the throne name. Okay, I'm sorry, horse name, Nesut-Bity name, throne name announced at the coronation, and always written in a shin, and it is Min Kefer Ra, okay, or Zipper Ra, depends on the dialect, right? Min Kefer Ra, okay, lasting is the manifestation or creation of Ra or God, right? So you see the circle with the dot, that's Ra, the Zephyr. We see these beetles all the time too. In Texas, these are June bugs. They're a form of a beetle. I'd say I see them all the time. Zephyr, men. You see all these lines. That means a long time, right? Birth name. This is the name that his mother and father gave him. Birth name Jehuti Mesu. Jehuti Mesu. Taught or Tahut. Wisdom is born. Okay, wisdom born. I heard that phrase before. Okay, we're gonna get to that in a second. Jehuti Mesu. Okay, thought Jehuti Mesu, born or created, right? Yeah, I heard it before. Wisdom born. I heard it from like the 5% Nation, where they say, shout out to the 5% Nation. They would say the supreme alphabet, and one of they'll say wisdom born. There it is. Now, King Tut. Don't forget to hit the like button. Here we go. King Tut. Now, his horse name, okay, is Ka Nakat Tut Mesu. Tut Mesu. The strong bull pleasing of or at birth. Okay. And as you can see, you see the falcon there, you see the palace facade there, right? This is one of the oldest forms of their names, right? In Biti name, Neferhepu Sekere Tawi. Neferhepu Sekere Tawi. One of the perfect laws who pacifies the two lands. Okay. He was born into a time where Egypt as a nation was established. They were the world power, right? They were they had the influence. So that was his Nebatawi name. His throne name, okay, Neb Keferah, Neb Zephirah, Neb Keferah, Lord in the forms of Ra, or Lord created. This king was created by God. Okay, Neb Keferah. Okay, Neb Keferah. Okay, his birth name Tudat Amun, the living image of Amun. Shout out to Pharaoh SE. Shout out to their website. It's pretty cool. They break those names down good. They really do. Shout out to them. If you want to check them out, check them out. But yeah, but this, you'll see his name like this also. I've seen this more often than the other way, but I've seen it like this. All right. Now, yeah, we're gonna get into that. The DNA dynasties and deception. Since we're talking about King Tut and them, we're gonna talk about King Tut and them. DNA dynasties and deception. The hunt for the true mother of King Tut. Because bro, Nefertiti ain't his mama. We're gonna talk about this right before Mother's Day, too. Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Yeah, DNA dynasties and deception, the hunt for the true mother of King Tut. And so, yeah, man. All right. So the uraeus and the royal crown. The uraeus, the sacred cobra representing Wadjet, became an essential part of the pharaoh's crown. It was believed to offer magical protection, spitting fire on the enemies, and ensuring victory in battle. In depictions of Pharaoh, Nekhbet is often shown alongside his Wadjet, extending the shin ring of eternity over the king's head. May you rule forever, kind of thing. reinforcing his divine right to rule, right? Now, the role of the two ladies at coronation. I told you we're going to talk about coronation. Coronation rituals, priests invoke the two ladies to bless the new pharaoh, symbolizing the transfer of divine power. Also, it's for battlefield protection because the kings went out there to throw hands. Okay, they were serious about that. All right, and so the Egyptian warriors believed the Wadjet were blind and strike down their enemies, while Nekhbet ensured victory and divine favor. All right, and so we talked about the queens of the Nile and legendary women who ruled ancient Egypt and Nubia. We talked about how Nekhbet and Wadjet influenced them and legitimized their role as rulers of Egypt. Now, but since we talked about the top 5 queens, should we talk about the top 5 priestess? So if you talked about the queens now, should we talk about the priestess? Subscribe and comment below. Let me know. All right, hit the like button. Let me know. Should we talk about my top 5 priestess of Kemet? All right, because they had an important role also. What do you think? Now, so we talked about the origins and mythological significance, the two ladies and the pharaoh, sacred symbols, and we got a bonus. Yeah, here comes the bonus. We got a bonus, and I'm checking roll too. So sacred symbols and temples and lasting influence. But before we get into the symbolism and imagery and temples and all that stuff, we got to review. According to the video, The Unknown Daughter of Pharaoh, Blood Feud, and the Rise of a Common Prince, what was the name of the unknown daughter? Nefertari, Neferu-Ptah, Isis, Hathor. If the actual answer is Neferu-Ptah, that was the unknown daughter. And we had a discussion about this unknown daughter. We actually got into some detail about it. And if you got it correct, you got an A for the day. You see what I'm saying? You got an A for the day. But get this. One thing I learned, that Sebek-Neferu was not intended to be the ruler of Egypt. Okay, and it was Neferu-Ptah, and we got into detail about that, but we're not done. All right. Now, because we got some other issues to address, because that random name Amenemhat IV, and they had some issues. These siblings had issues, and it boiled over into some regicide. That means royalty killing each other, a blood feud, and all that kind of stuff. It got different in Kemet. All right. And the thing is, I believe what was going on in the royal court, in the palace of Kemet, that was going on in the dynasties overall. In that particular dynasty, it was very unstable, and they was moving unstable. They was moving like that. So we're going to talk about that in this coming weeks. We're going to talk about regicide and all that. And so there was a question: if there were 8 rulers, how was Sebek-Neferu the 7th and final? Okay, shout out to T Garner 567. What happened is there was multiple reasons. The line of succession was one of them. The line of succession was one issue, and Amenemhat IV, he was a random. He was not really. He wasn't born into that. So we'll go into detail next time. But yeah, we're gonna talk about regicide, and we're gonna go further to this question also. All right. Now, but that's in another week or so. Now, sacred symbols, temples, and lasting influence. All right. Now, Nekhbet temple in Nekheb, one of Egypt's oldest temples, where priests conducted rituals to bless the pharaoh and the kingdom. So Nekhbet, she had a temple in El Khab, right? And the Wadjet temple in Per-Wadjet or Buto. It's a sacred site where Wadjet's oracles guided rulers in decision making and foretold the fate of Egypt. Did you know that Nekhbet and Wadjet had temples? I didn't know that. That's new to me. That's new to me. I didn't know that. It's pretty cool. Now, iconography. Okay, the royal tombs, Nekhbet and Wadjet, were depicted guarding the burial chambers, ensuring the pharaoh's safe passage to the Akhet, to the afterlife, right? Now, amulets and seals, many officials and priests carried amulets bearing the two ladies, believing they would provide divine protection and wisdom. Despite foreign invasion and dynastic changes, the legacy of the two ladies endured. Even like during the Greco-Roman period, the Wadjet symbol was still used, as you see, because Cleopatra wore it. She had it on, you know. So they still use it in religious ceremonies and art. Nekhbet's vulture motif influenced later depictions of protective mother goddess such as Aset and Mu'ut. Right now, here's some images. Now, I told you I was going to kind of lean into this one. Now, I'm going to say this. All right. Kemetic culture is African culture. This sister here is in Kenya down there. Okay. And guess what she have on? Very similar to what they had in Kemet. Right? Matter of fact, I didn't see this, but look at the collar. Collar's the same. Okay. Very similar, not the exact same for the loud ones in the back. They're not the exact same, all right, but similar, right? Here's another one. Hairstyle. Let's go. Now, I don't see nobody north of the Nile Delta with hairstyles like this. I'm saying. So Heteru with the two braids, with the bust down like that, the two braids like that. You don't see that in the north. You don't see that in Greece or Rome or Mesopotamia. You only see that in the south. All right. You like comment below. If you've seen this hairstyle like this, okay, in the Mediterranean area or in Mesopotamia, go ahead and comment that below. Go and let me know. Because I'm on that kind of time and I had a lot of coffee. You understand? Let's go. How about this? Let's go. The side locks that children wore. These Sudanese and Ethiopian children have the side lock, and you see Ramses as a child having it on. And I think this is another king, but most of the time you see Ramses as a child having it on. So this was an African thing. Kemetic culture, Egyptian culture is a African culture. The culture came from where? From the south, from the mountains of the moon, from Uganda, okay, from Kenya to Ethiopia, then went up north, right? So we're not going to play those games saying that Egypt was isolated like that. No. You see it even in their hair. They had Afro picks and Afro combs and whatnot. What are we talking about here? Right? So, and we got a bonus. Let's get it. Bonus. The crowns of ancient Egypt. Since we're talking about royalty, since we're talking about the crowns and everything, the symbolism that was on the crown. Let's talk about the crowns themselves. Let's get it. Let's get it. All right. The white crown, the headjet, okay, is normally found in Upper Egypt, which is in the south. Okay, that is in the south. Aswan on down into Sudan, right? It's shaped a tall, it's conical white crown. Symbolism is rule over Upper Egypt. The white represented purity and authority. Okay, and the Neteru that was linked to it was Nekhbet, the vulture goddess of Upper Egypt. It was worn by the kings of Upper Egypt or pharaohs, emphasizing control over the south. Okay, and so you see Amenhotep right there on the. We have Amenemhat right on the. I'm sorry, which got my notes right. Okay, Amenhotep is on the left, and Amenemhat is on the right. Okay, all right. So, but now the white crown was seen on the Narmer palette. Okay, thousands of years before these guys got there. Okay, King Narmer, he had it on. Okay, we're gonna break this down. See, the white crown was worn by kings before the pharaohs. Okay, this was an established African custom. This was an ancient culture. Okay, we're gonna break this down soon, but as you can see, we see the uniter of the two lands there. We have Narmer or Menes, and he has the white crown on his head. But also, what else do you see on here? What else do you see on here? We see Heru. And who else do you see on here? Heteru. This Kemetic culture was an African culture, and it was established eons before Kemet was united. So, and we'll break this down a little bit further in the coming weeks. But yeah, you see his mace, his little war hammer. He about to give somebody that work. About to give him that permanent relaxation. He said, "You crossed the line, boy." So look at it. This is another illustration of the normal pilot, and also he has the oxtail right there. And we mentioned in the king's names the strong bull representing strength and power, right? And so we're going to talk about that. Who's this guy right here with the star above his head? All right, let's go. And we also see these banners here. Okay, these individuals holding up the banners. Okay, yeah, this has been going on for a long time, right? And get this is what I said for a long time. The Kunststool incense. We do not know, technically, we don't know who this individual is, but we do know that there's some ships here. Okay, we see the white crown, and we see the crook and flail in his hand. This is before the first dynasty. Okay, this is the incense burner. It's like a small little cup there. Okay, and guess who's next to him above him? That's a falcon. That's Heru. Okay, and we see the palace right there, right? We see the palace. Where do we see that? We've seen that before. We've seen that in some of the king's names, right? Let me see if I can get back to it real quick. Just had it. Hold on, y'all. We saw it in the king's name. So I'm trying to get to the slide, but it's not letting me go back to it. But we saw it in the king's names where you had the great palace next to it. You saw it in their names. Let me see, just like this one. Boom, there it is. Like you see the palace, you see Heru right there. This was going on for a century. This was going on for a very long time. All right. So, all right. Now the red crown. Okay, we're gonna talk about this coming up too. We're not done with this. We're not done with it. Let's go. The red crown Gesseret, that represented Lower Egypt. That is in the Nile Delta, flat top with a tall back and cord extension. The symbolized ruler of a Lower Egypt. They represented agriculture. It represented order. The deity was, of course, Wadjet, the cobra goddess worn by kings, emphasizing control in the Nile Delta. Okay, example was also in the Narmer palette. Okay, right there. You see the example there, but also we see our brother Mentuhotep II. Now, Mentuhotep II, if they want to make him lighter, they would have, because obviously his whole outfit was white. Say what it said, and look at his face right there. Okay. This look like the high tops back in the 90s, what they used to wear back in the 90s. So, but yeah, the Gesseret is a very ancient symbol, possibly one of the oldest known crown forms in Egyptian art. The double crown, the Piscanet, Sekhemeti, Sekhemeti, the double crown. It's a combination of Hetjet, the white crown, and Gesseret, a merged crown with the white upper cone and the red curl base. Symbolism, it shows that he unified Upper and Lower Egypt, shows total sovereignty and divine kingship. The deity, the associated to it was, of course, the Wadjet and Nekhbet. The two ladies is worn by all the pharaohs after Narmer, after the Scorpion King, after the kings before the pharaohs. Is usually in official imagery. Examples commonly worn in New Kingdom. Right here we have Amenhotep III. This is King Tut's grandfather, Amenhotep III. Okay, so and he also has Wadjet on his forehead, right? So this is representing him being the ruler, the Nepatawi, the ruler of the two lands, right? The blue crown, the Kapresh, the blue crown. This was seen like in the New Kingdom though. You've seen the Kapresh or the blue crown in the New Kingdom, and onward, like the 18 dynasties and out, right? Blue, rounded helmet-like crown with uraeus, often decorated with golden disc and everything. It showed military leadership, protection, divine kingship in action. It was worn by pharaohs in battle or during festivals and rituals, and it was a symbol of the living king, right? It was often worn by King Tut. You've seen him, Ramses II, and Akhenaten, right? So this was called the war crown, but nobody, for some reason, nobody has seen these. Nobody has found these crowns. Nobody has seen. They have the bodies there. They have the gold and the silver and all that, but none of these have been found. Do you think they were hairstyles? Subscribe and comment below. Do you think, because there's some brothers up south that say something different? Do you think they're hairstyles? That's the reason why they probably couldn't find these crowns here. They were really literally on their crown. They had it on their head. Right? What do you think? Subscribe and comment below. The Nemes crown. Okay. This was a striped cloth. They call it a cloth headdress, not a crown per se. They say it's a cloth headdress. That's what they say. But what I'm seeing something different. But they say something different. I'm seeing something different. All right. We're going to lean into that in a second. But it was the Nemes crown, draped cloth with lappets over the shoulders, uraeus of the center, symbolism of divine kingship, timeless authority, solar protection. They didn't need protection from the sun, bro. This is what some people are saying. This is what some scholars are saying. It was for solar protection. Black people did not need solar protection. All right. So it was associated both in life and death, used in mummification masks, worn by most pharaohs, especially in statues and sarcophagi. The mask of Tutankhamun was famously worn. But now, get this. This brother here is from Kenya. Okay. This brother here is from Kenya. And as you can see, how his hair is flowing downward, very similar to the Egyptian crown here. Now, not only that, his facial features, his facial features in Kenya. And this is, I think it's Minkara. I think Minkara. This is the old kingdom right there. So yeah, I'm sorry, not Minkara. It's Kafari. The second, he built the second pyramid. This guy from Kenya, and this is Kafari. Kind of look alike. You can disagree or whatever, but that's what that is. But similar facial features. They saying it is a cloth. I'm seeing hair. Because a lot of they didn't find them. None of these crowns are found, but we see hairstyles like this all up and through Africa. All right, let's go. The Atef crown. Okay, the white headjet flanked with ostrich feathers, sometimes on a sun disk, symbolism, divine kingship, spiritual power, and you normally see that with Osiris. Okay, the ruler of the underworld or the ancestral plane. It was worn by Osiris in religious art and occasionally by living kings during ritual. Seen in funerary depictions or festival scenes like the Head-Said festival. Okay, so the Atef crown connects the pharaoh to the divine cycle of death and rebirth. Okay, it was designed to maintain cosmic order. Right now, the Hanem crown. The Hanem crown is the triple Atef-like structure with horns, urae, and often sun disk or feathers. Right, that is the Hanem crown. All right, and so that dealing with that, it shows grand authority, celestial power, royal divinity, or festival triumph. Right, worn by kings during major festivals, ceremonial events. For example, King Tut wore it, and a Pendamak, the Nubian lion that Taru wore it. Okay, Hanem means to shout, to roar, to show a display of power. Speaking of Apenemat and speaking of Nubia, next week we're going to talk about. Y'all asked for it, y'all. Y'all did. We'll go live and have this discussion, talking about the symbolism of the Lion Temple of Naka. We're going to talk about the esoteric role of Apenemat in Kushite theology. Yeah, we're going to be. At first, I was trying my best to just keep things surface and keep things right here. But we're getting to the point where we're getting some shovels and we digging deeper into the content, digging deeper into the information. So yeah, next week we're going to talk about the symbolism of the Lion Temple of Naka, the esoteric role of Apenemat, the Kushite practice of astrology, alchemy, the initiation, and cosmic law. Yeah, y'all asked for it. We're finna go on and get it. All right, so this is another reason why we're going to talk about Sudan, because somebody had something to say about this picture. Somebody was saying that had some sideways to say, and they were saying something like these people weren't from Ethiopia, they were Eritrean or Sudan, whatever. Bro, yeah, somebody had something to say about this picture right here. And as you notice, we have almost Nefertari in between these two sisters right here. And by the way, these two sisters are from Ethiopia and Sudan. Told you, Kemetic culture is African culture. But yeah, we're going to have this conversation next week. I'm excited about it. Now, that's the topic. Next week, thrones of fire and temples of light, the Kandeki, the Kandi queens, and esoteric knowledge of ancient Kush. That's next week. Man, that is basically the part 2 of the amazing civilization of Ethiopia. That was our part 2. This is our part 2 with him. So the crowns again were Hadjet, Jesseret, Pesenet, Kapres, the Nemes, the Atef, and Hanem. All right. But yeah, next week, yeah, we're gonna get into it, right? We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about I've been neglecting Nubia and Ethiopia long enough. Okay, we gotta talk about the South, right? So the two ladies, Nekhbet and Wadjet, were more than mere symbols of Upper and Lower Egypt. They are powerful divine forces that legitimized the Pharaoh's rule, protected Egypt from chaos, and ensured the spiritual and political stability. Nekhbet was the wise vulture, nurtured and blessed the king. Wadjet was the fierce cobra, struck down its enemies with divine fire. Their influences extended far beyond mythology and shaped the identity of foundation of Egyptian kingship, and leaving a legacy that would endure a millennia. And this is our book, The First Female Pharaoh, Sebek-Neferu, the Goddess of the Seven Stars. The link is in the description. And some other books are in the description also. And the technology that I use is also in there too. So if you're interested, check it out. Roll call. Time to check roll. For those who are still here, okay. Shout out to One Voice Africa, Ali 9532, the Kamoyo King, Theo B, Grand Madame Terra, okay, Michael Kolawale. These people they either just joined, they just got here, or they're adding value to the conversation, right? Shout out to Brother Mo, Ancient Divinations, Alicia Thomas, Suave Centro, Sinatra, I'm sorry, Library Without Borders, Lily, Fabric 86, Miss Blue, Joya Toya, Jay Williams, Kensu, Mikey Majestic, Jennifer Tatum, General Bunches, Comedic Nation, Tony with 2 E's, B. Shelton, Clark Nation, Supreme, Pauline, the TikTok Dance Challenge, Scott Gillum, Zip Tippy Slim, and I do see Brother Ferguson out here. If you're still present, like and comment and hit the button and type in present, okay? But shout out to Brother Ferguson. He's rolling. Shout out to him and the fam out there in Dallas. The Tale of Two Ladies. Yeah, if you want to hear my top 5 queens of Egypt, I got that. But if you want to hear about the unknown daughter, got a video for that. And if you want to catch up with the Queens of South, got the playlist for you. Now, but the question is still in the air. Is there a cultural connection between Congo and Kemet or the Nile Valley? We're going to talk about that another time. We're going to get into that, though. We're going to talk about that because I can't unsee this picture. I can't unsee that, right? Now, so which Egyptian goddess fascinates you the most? Nekhbet or Wadjet? Like and comment. Let me know. All right. Next week, Fire and Light, Thrones of Fire and Temples of Light, the Kandake Queens, the Esoteric Knowledge of Ancient Kush. We doing that live next week. And Regicide, that's loading. Okay. They got into it. So Beck Pharaoh and her siblings, they got into it. We trying to figure out what happened to her, what happened to her brother. All right. Now, so we talked about the origins and mythological significance, the two ladies and the Pharaoh, the sacred symbols, temples, and last influence. We talked about the bonus and we gave a roll call. Now, if you like the comments, like the content, share it with somebody you think they may enjoy it, or share it on Facebook or Instagram. You see what I'm saying? All right, we just talked about the two ladies, the tale of two ladies, Nekhbet and Wadjet, and ancient Egyptian mythology. You just got to listen to King Cam Ujumbe podcast and Ujumbe means message. And I will talk to you guys later. Oh, hold on. Talk to you. Wait a minute. Yeah. All right. Shout out to Brother Ferguson. Yeah, he present. So, but I really appreciate you guys coming. And I hope you guys enjoy your weekend and your time. And for those who are on the replay, enjoy it. And I will see you